Good morning, good afternoon and good evening. Welcome to episode 29 of PhotoshopLightroomTV. I'm your host Marek Mularczyk from sitetraining.co.uk and welcome to yet another fantastic episode of PhotoshopLightroomTV, the weekly video podcast about anything Photoshop, Lightroom and Adobe Bridge as well, and photography. This week I've got for you a tutorial in Photoshop, a tutorial in Lightroom, a tip of the week as usual, but let's start with talking about calibrating your software, your display. If you do any design work in Photoshop or in Lightroom, a crucial thing, one of the most important things you should do is to calibrate your monitor, because when you buy a monitor, it is not calibrated unless you buy a professional, very expensive monitor. So you need to calibrate it yourself. And there are special hardwares to calibrate your monitor. There's loads of them. I'm going to show you two of them. One from the Pantone and one from the ColorVision. And the way it works is you purchase this device. It's a calibrator. You install the software. You run the software, and then you take the device and you connect it to a USB port on your computer. And you put it on your screen. Put it hanging on the screen, and it will calibrate your monitor. Make sure all the colors are right and the contrast is the way it's supposed to be. This is crucial if you do printing or if you do any serious design work in Photoshop or Lightroom. So let me show you these two devices and how to find them and how they work. Okay. Speaking of calibrating the devices, I'm going to show you two devices that are very common and they give you decent quality with a very good price. One of them is the Pantone Huey. You may know the Pantone, the company behind all the color profiles, and if you do print, you know Pantone. So they do Pantone Huey, and even say on the bags, chances are your monitor color is a problem. Yeah, because if you don't calibrate it, that's the problem. One of the challenges you need to face is that if you don't calibrate your monitor, your images will look different on different monitors, whether you send it for print or whether you just email it to someone. So this is the device, Pantone Huey, and you just connect it to your computer and put it hanging on your screen. Okay? Both devices I'm going to show you come in at least two different versions. For example, Huey comes in the standard version and Pro version. Now the standard version here in the UK costs about £67, which is a really good price. A Pro costs about £90 or £100. The main difference between the standard and the Pro versions is that with the Pro version you can calibrate two monitors, with standard just one monitor. So if you do have two monitors connected to your computer and you want to calibrate them both, invest in a Pro version. Okay, now the other one I'm going to show you is the ColorVision Spider. The latest version is Spider 3. Okay. Now it used to be ColorVision Spider, now it's a Data Color Spider. Okay. Again, Express version, the standard version, and the Pro version. The standard version is about £70, so about the same price. And same thing, this Express version can only calibrate one monitor. The Pro version can calibrate two monitors, also about £100–110 for the Pro version. In my opinion, it doesn't matter which one you go for. The important bit is please calibrate your monitor, because it is a problem. Okay? When you calibrate your monitor, you will get most from your monitor, from the quality of your monitor. So it doesn't matter which one you buy. Even if you buy the cheapest one, it will make a massive difference with your work. That's how the device looks. Okay? And you will see a massive difference once you've finished and you calibrate your monitor. I very often work with photographers or private clients, and when I advise them to calibrate the monitors, they purchase the devices, then calibrate the monitors, and very often they call me later on and say, I've calibrated my monitor and I don't like it. How do I uninstall this? I want to get rid of it. This happens, you need to be aware of that, because when you calibrate your monitor, it will look totally different from what you were seeing before. For example, Mac laptops are very warm in terms of color. The monitors are slightly yellow. So when you calibrate your monitor, it will be cooler. Not cooler like really cool, cooler in terms of color. So you won't like it. But give it time, go away from the computer for 15-20 minutes, half an hour, or turn the computer off and turn on, and you won't notice the difference. Because remember, your eyes adjust really easily to the conditions. This is one of the best investments that I have made, of course, apart from investing in Photoshop and Lightroom, because it makes such a difference. And I've had Spider 2, I'm using Spider 2, I've had it for 3 or 4 years, and I'm still using it, and it's a really good device. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm Marek Mularczyk from SiteTrain.co.uk, one of the UK's leading specialists in Adobe Certified training, and thank you for watching. And here's how you use one of the devices to calibrate your monitor on your computer. Now you calibrate it once, then you will need to recalibrate it after every certain period of time, once a month, once in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It's up to you, depends how often you work. But when you recalibrate, it only takes about 5 minutes. You just connect the device, run the software, and recalibrate it. You will be prompted. The software will tell you when you need to recalibrate your monitor, so nothing to worry about. When you calibrate your monitor, the software will create a special color profile for you and will load it into your graphics card upon starting the operating system. So there's nothing to worry about. Okay, that's about calibrating. And now let's move on to Lightroom. Last week I showed you how to create a web gallery using Adobe Bridge. This time I'm going to show you how to create a web gallery using Adobe Photoshop Lightroom. So let's have a look on that. So here we are inside Adobe Photoshop Lightroom. I'm using Lightroom 3, and I'm going to show you how to create a web photo gallery using Lightroom. I've got some images here. I'm going to select just some of them, not too many. So 3, maybe 4, let's see, 6. So I've got 9 images selected. How do I know I've got 9 selected? Because it says here 9 selected. And I'll jump into the web module inside Lightroom, and I'm going to build a quick web photo gallery with these 9 images. Okay. So I've got a preview in the top left corner. On the left hand side there are templates, and a great feature about the templates is that you can just roll over it and the preview changes. If it says HTML, this is HTML. If it's Flash, it will have the Flash F icon in the bottom left corner. So I'm going to use one of the Flash galleries. Let's see. Flash gallery default looks good. It's refreshing here in the main window. And this is the same template that you can find within Adobe Bridge. Okay, so you may have noticed that. Okay, now we go to Lightroom UI. Let's see, we got Mossy Rock, Nightlife, White. There's loads of templates you can find online. I'm just going to show you, maybe we'll just use the taxi, just to make it something slightly different. So I'm going to use the taxi. Now I'll move to the right hand side. On the top, layout style. Okay, so this is the Lightroom Flash Gallery. We'll be talking about some more styles at a later time. Site info, site title. This will be Marek Mularczyk Photography. This is the text that will appear in the top left corner. Collection title, I'm going to call that Brecon Beacons, because these images are from Brecon Beacons in Wales. Beacons. Collection description, I'll change by Adobe Lightroom to by Marek Mularczyk. Just a bit of customizing it. You can see lots of options are the same as in Bridge. Contact info, contact name, I'll rename it to email me. Just more descriptive, and I add an email address. Okay, so I'm going to change that, and I do Mara13 at, let's make something up, mail.com. Okay, and it changes automatically. Most of you Brecon Beacons, email me. You can see rollover effect, what's happening here. Okay, so that's an info. Now color palette. That we can change all the color palettes. I'm going to change the header color. I don't want it to be yellow, so I'll make that, let's see, I'll make it black. Okay, and then text is white, looks good. Header text will be white as well, or could be shade of gray. Looks okay, nice. Now the menu, we'll change that as well. Maybe not to black, but the very dark, or make it black, just to make it the same consistent. Menu text will be white as well. Oh, let's make it light gray. That looks good. It's changing here. Appearance, okay. Layout, paginated or scrolling. Scrolling looks good. Left looks good. That's similar to Adobe Bridge, but I think the scrolling looks really good. So you can scroll here through the images. And identity plate, you can identity plate. I'm going to skip that for now. Large images size, medium is fine. That's the size. Thumbnails, this is good size for thumbnails. Image info, you can add title to images. So I could take, let's say, file name, for example. Okay. This displays the file name. I didn't rename the files, so maybe not the best idea. I could add file name or the caption or the title. I'm going to leave it a file name. Output settings. The quality, because I'm putting it online, I'm going to increase the quality just a bit, not too much, about 75-76%. Metadata, copyright only, yes. Watermarking, simple copyright, there's this information here in the bottom left corner. Sharpening standard, sharpening will be applied when I export it. And the upload settings, so you can take and upload it straight to an FTP server. Okay. You can upload it, or you can export it. So I'm going to click on export, and now I can export it to my desktop. I'm going to call it web gallery, and in just a moment I'll click save, and Lightroom will start exporting it to the desktop. Then I can put it online when I want it. And that's how you create web photo gallery using Lightroom. Thank you for watching. I'm Marek Mularczyk from sitetraining.co.uk. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial in Lightroom on creating web gallery from your photographs. Now let's move on to Photoshop. In Photoshop, I'll show you a quick tutorial on using opacity and fill with your layers. What the differences are, what they do, how they work. Because you may have noticed in your layers panel there are two sliders, one is called opacity, one is called fill. So let's explore that and a bit more. So let's talk about opacity and fill in Photoshop. I'm just going to zoom in a bit closer on this design here that I've got open. I'm going to focus on this Bajani text here on the cover. This is a text, and it's got a couple of effects applied to it. Drop shadow and outer glow. Okay. And each layer has these two sliders, opacity and fill. I'm going to start with the opacity slider. I'm going to drag it down from 100%, and text starts disappearing. Okay. Now just to make it easier for you to see, I'm just going to change the blend mode to normal. So there's the text. Okay, and I'm start dragging opacity down. When I go to 0%, the text will completely disappear, including any effects that apply to the text layer. Okay. I'll take it back to 100%. Now I'll take the full slider and now do the same. I'll start dragging it down, and I'll set it to 0%. Now the text didn't really disappear, because the difference between opacity and fill is that opacity changes the opacity of the whole layer, including any effects that apply to the layer. Everything disappears when you set opacity to 0%. Fill will only change the opacity of the text on the layer or the content on the layer. It could be an image as well, but not the effects that you apply to the layer. So if you apply any effects to your layer, shadow, a glow, a stroke, a bevel and emboss, this will stay when you drag the fill down. Only the content will disappear. Okay, that's why I can still see the drop shadow and the outer glow. If I hide these effects, everything will disappear now. Okay, so that's the main difference between opacity and fill. Opacity will remove everything. Fill will only remove the content and will leave the layer effects as they are. Okay, so here's the quick tutorial on opacity and fill in Photoshop. And that's the tutorial in Photoshop. Now we're almost done, I'm afraid. I know we could talk about Photoshop and Lightroom and photography for hours, but I don't want to bore you too much. I think 15 minutes is a good timing, so you can watch and enjoy without getting bored. So now it's time for tip of the week. Now this week's tip of the week is in Adobe Bridge. Now as you know, when you in Adobe Bridge and you double click on the raw file, it opens automatically in Adobe Camera Raw in Photoshop. If you're in Photoshop and you go to File, Open, and double click on the raw file, it will also open in Camera Raw in Photoshop. But the question I often get asked is, how do I open raw image in, or can I open raw image in Camera Raw in Bridge so I don't have to launch Photoshop? Yes, you can. In Adobe Bridge, select the raw file you want to open with Camera Raw, and then right click and select Open in Camera Raw. Or go to File menu and select Open Camera Raw, or a keyboard shortcut for you, Ctrl R on a PC and Command R on a Mac, R for raw. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed Photoshop Lightroom TV, episode 29. I'm Marek Mularczyk from scitraining.co.uk, one of the UK's leading specialists in Adobe Certified training. For more information, go to scitraining.co.uk. Also visit my blog, PhotoshopLightroomBridge.co.uk, for loads of tips and tricks for daily posts about anything Photoshop and Lightroom and photography. Or join me on Facebook, Twitter or LinkedIn. I hope you enjoyed it, and now I'm going to see you next week in episode 30. And episode 30, next week, we're going to have a contest. So I will see you next week. Bye bye.